Welcome into Dallas Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior, not Harrison Graham. He's on vacation in Italy, so I'll be stepping in over the next couple of weeks. And we have a lot of interesting things to unpack and talk about on today's show. Jalen Brunson in free agency. It looked as though he was going to land that $104 million contract from the New York Knicks and just outright leave the Dallas Mavericks. Now, a lot of conflicting reports that it could be a sign-in trade. And if that's the case, who could the Mavericks bring back as part of that sign-in trade? So as of right now, we'll get you caught up on the Jalen Brunson latest. Knicks have not announced the signing of Brunson just yet. The Mavs have not announced the signing of JaVale McGee, a signing that I really liked. So could they be working on a sign-in trade that would help absorb the blow of losing Jalen Brunson from the Mavs' perspective? We know that Nico Harrison, a very heady general manager, the Mavs could take back 50% of JB's year one salary. But there's some financial things that we have to go to. So here is a sign and trade idea that we put together. And I like it for the Mavericks because they get a solid offensive player, a pretty solid shooter, and a good offensive piece in Evan Fournier, as well as a future second-round pick. And the Knicks receive Jalen Brunson. But for this to work, it needs to be a descending contract. Now, I failed elementary algebra at the college level, but I can break this down for you and simplify it. So basically, the average annual value has to be at its highest to start for Jalen Brunson in New York, and then it has to go down. Oftentimes with these big deals, it starts at the lower number, and then it escalates over time. It would have to be opposite for this trade to work. Those are some of the inner workings of the financial aspects of how the NBA salary cap works. And at this point, why not just take Evan Fournier back? He is an ideal fit next to Luka Doncic. He's making around $18 million, so that's somewhat prohibitive. Do you work on his contract a little bit? Maybe you can do that. Didn't necessarily live up to the expectations in New York, but with the pressure off him, not in the pressure cooker that is New York City, playing with a better team and the Dallas Mavericks alongside a better player in Luka Doncic, could Evan Fournier's numbers go up? Now, you look at the numbers right here, you'll certainly take this. On the Dallas Mavericks, 14 points per game. He connected on about 42% of his shots, 39% from beyond the arc, 241 three-point makes. Those are pretty good numbers. Now, he got off to a rocky start. He's making a lot of money. We know New York Knicks fans are the worst, so they were getting on Evan Fournier saying, this guy, he's not worth the price tag. But again, he puts up these numbers for the Mavs, and MFFLs will be very happy with that production. Here's what the Mavericks lineup would look like with Evan Fournier. Luka Doncic with that high usage rate, he's making things happen. Dorian Finney-Smith as an underrated and great 3-and-D guy. If you disrespect him, I got a problem with you, man. His story has been unbelievable, and he's a really good and valuable basketball player. Reggie Bullock, if he doesn't get traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, also in that starting lineup. And then what happens at those 4 and 5 spots? I am fascinated to see what Jason Kidd does. Does he start Christian Wood at the 5? And JaVale McGee comes in off the bench? Or do they break that quote-unquote promise with JaVale McGee because he signed with the Mavs hoping that he'd be in that starting lineup? Or do you go Wood at the 4, which I actually think is his better, more natural position because he can kind of hover around the three-point arc. He's not necessarily a banger down low. And then you go with JaVale McGee with that ultimate rim protection and rim running. And then you look at the bench here. Pretty solid for Dallas, and I thought producer Coop made a good point. He said, if you bring in Fournier, you could have one of the deeper teams in the NBA. Tim Hardaway Jr. as a flamethrower coming in off the bench. Evan Fournier in a similar role to Hardaway. Spencer Dinwiddie is man in the point. Then you have Maxi Kleber as a 4 or 5 to stretch the floor, and Dwight Powell as well. I like this lineup with Fournier. I like this roster with Fournier. That's why I'm saying make the deal happen. Make the comment section go, Mavs fans. Let me know. Rate Evan Fournier as a player right now. Scale it for me from 1 to 100. While you're down there, make sure you subscribe. Do you love the NBA? Do you love the Mavs? Do you want to stay in the know with everything going down with this basketball team year-round around the clock? Well, the solution is simple. Hit that red sub button down below or head to youtube.com/MavsTV. From Evan Fournier to Collin Sexton. This is pretty interesting on this front, right? Cleveland plain dealer saying the Cavs still optimistic about a Sexton deal. That's not really surprising. Both sides wanting to continue their partnership. That's not really a surprise. What's a surprise? An anonymous executive saying Collin Sexton has no market. If you're the Mavs, why not just make a call? And if you haven't made a call up to this point, what the hell are you doing? You look at the numbers from 2019-20 and then 2 years ago. We're not looking at the numbers from a year ago because Sexton barely played because the season was cut short because of that knee injury. This guy's really good, especially offensively. And I love the athleticism. I love the shot creation and the shot making. This is a guy who I think can play and succeed alongside Luka. 3 years ago, 2019-20, nearly 21 points per game, 47% from the floor, 38% from three with volume on 17 field goal attempts nearly. I'd like to see the creation numbers increase a little bit, but when you play with Luka, that doesn't matter. And then 2 years ago, the best year in his third year in the NBA since being a first-round pick out of Alabama, 24 points per game, nearly 48% shooter, 37% from three. Field goal attempts went up, and the field goal percentage didn't really dip that much. And then assists per game also went up. This is a guy who can create. This is a guy who can be a game breaker and can be a very intriguing offensive asset who can create in the half court as well as in the full court in transition. If he has no market, why wouldn't the Mavs explore it? And if you pay him about $20 million and Jalen Brunson is between 25 and 30 because those contractual details not yet official, it's a pretty good deal. I mean, is there a massive gap between Jalen Brunson and Collin Sexton? I don't think so. So you save money for a player who is also really good. I like it for the Mavs. Now, where do you think Collin Sexton lies here? Do you think he's overrated, type O, underrated, type U? You think he's properly rated? Type P in the comment section. Once more, fielding your responses. We do have a deal to get to that the Mavs did make in free agency. The Mavs have signed Tyler Dorsey. It's going to be a two-way deal, right, Coop? So this coming from Matteo Andriani. Tyler Dorsey to the Mavs is a done deal. The player is expected to sign with the NBA team. He refused to play overseas. Obviously, broken English right there from an international reporter, but the main point here, Tyler Dorsey signing a two-way deal with the Dallas Mavericks. Have you ever heard of him? If not, we got you covered with some numbers here. NBA stats from 2017 to 2019, nearly 7 points per game, little less than 2 dimes. Field goal percentage, not good. 3-point numbers, kind of solid. Then he goes over to Europe, and this is where he started to gain some traction, and this is why the Mavericks were somewhat interested in him. Played nearly 22 minutes per game. That an increase over what he was doing at the NBA level. That's probably why he went over there, in addition to just getting paid more money. 11.5 points per game. You look at the numbers here, field goals to field goals attempted, nearly 4 to 9, but 3-pointers. Knocked down nearly 40% of them. Pretty good. So if he can do that at the NBA level, there is certainly a role for a guy who is 6'5", who can score, launch the three, hit the three, but that's about it. And he is limited, and that's why his NBA role has been limited up to this point. But we've seen countless examples of guys get their start at the NBA level. They go overseas, whether it be to Europe, China, the NBL in Australia. They get bigger. They work on their strength. They work on their overall game. They come back to the NBA. They end up being pretty good players. I mean, P.J. Tucker, one of the best success stories in that regard. So we just talked a lot about the Mavericks roster as a whole from top to bottom, especially if they land Evan Fournier in that sign-in trade. Grade the Mavs' current roster for me right now. A, B, C, D, or F. Where do you think this roster is? They land Fournier. I think they're one of the deepest in the NBA. They lack a little bit of star power, but they have their star in Luka Doncic. Let me know right now in the comment section. And thanks for rocking and rolling with us on today's show.